Hello and welcome to Mini Views. We're going to discover more about the human behind the business. Hello, I'm Sam Osbiston, and today I'm chatting with Nicky Minter of Yes Wellbeing and why she's so passionate about advocating for Stroke Awareness Month. Hi Nicky, how are you?
Hi Sam, hi, really nice to see you, thank you.
And you. So for those listening and watching, because do video on this, who for those that don't know you, what is Yes Wellbeing? How does it help people?
Okay, so I set Yes Wellbeing up in 2002 as a way for people to experience stress relief techniques. So it's something that I've been passionate about actually ever since we travelled. I was travelling and went to India, and I picked up a book on acupressure, which is
Okay.
like the acupuncture version.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, the pressure version of acupuncture.
Okay.
And it led me to do a course in shiatsu, because it opened up a new world of actually there's, the medical profession is great, but there's not just the medical profession, and that there's another way to health, and that there are things that we can do for ourselves. So I went on to train in a number of different things, kinesiology, hypnotherapy, emotional freedom technique, and more recently mindfulness and CBT. So all those things kind of are just great tools in my toolbox that I use to help adults and teenagers. So I've had quite a lot of experience working with teenagers as well.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So it's all about stress relief,
Yeah,
keeping those stress levels down.
it's really important because stress has a massive impact on people's lives, for all sorts of reasons. So is there some particular reason why you chose to then go into mindfulness after doing all the other therapies that you've trained in?
Well, I'd been using meditation for quite a long time in my own practice, and for myself, something that my mother was very into, so she led me into that, and I found it very useful, and I started running a meditation group in Larkhall a number of years ago now, but I kept hearing about mindfulness, and kept thinking, right, I need to give this a try. And it actually coincided with something, a kind of big event that happened in our family's lives, which was my mum had a stroke in 2011, hence supporting Stroke Awareness Month. And this was a real life changer for her and for the rest of us. Nothing was the same again after that, sadly, for her. And so I then decided to take the mindfulness training, because I was aware that it was really helpful as well for stress levels, even though I was sort of using all these other stress techniques. And it coincided really nicely with it, because it really did help me cope with all the following years of having and looking after a stroke survivor.
So, like, in the actual moment of the chaos, how did you use that mindfulness, those techniques, or which techniques in particular did you use in order to help you get through that situation? Because that must have been, a massive stress for yourself.
Yeah, it really was. It was a stress for all of us, but because I became mum's sort of emotional support, it meant that she relied on me emotionally to help her kind of almost on a minute by minute basis through the day. So even though in the first 4 years she lived at home with my father and they had a one-to-one carer, she did have access to the telephone, and she phoned me. You know, she would have been on the phone. She would have had an open line if she could have done. But it was regular. It was almost once an hour. And obviously I went over. I live about half an hour away, so you know, I'd go over and support my dad a lot. But she needed me to help bring her down and help her with her anxiety.
Okay.
So, you know, mum became, after her stroke, she lost her mobility. Not entirely. She was able to walk with a stick and with assistance. But it was a little bit of a road to get to that point, you know, after she'd had her stroke. Yeah, she was very depressed. She couldn't accept the fact that this had happened to her. You know, she went from being a sort of active 75-year-old to needing assistance with absolutely everything, whether that was eating or going to the bathroom or putting her clothes on or whatever. It's a brain injury, you know, and not only did it affect her physically, but it affected her mentally, and she lost her short-term memory. Her long-term memory was excellent, so she could remember what she did when she was 4.
Oh gosh.
But she couldn't remember that she just phoned me 5 minutes earlier. So that was really difficult to cope with. And then the other thing was that she had been very anxious, as you know, I think they would have termed it that she was someone who lived on her nerves.
Okay.
Throughout her life. She'd had a heart problem as a child, and so, you know, this sort of reared its ugly head later in life, and she had atrial fibrillation, which was probably the cause, along with the fact that she was always very stressed and very anxious. And so, you know, I think if she was diagnosed now, she would be diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and OCD and a number of other things. But and that amplified. So after she had her stroke, that amplified, and she didn't have her own resources, or she'd forgotten all her own resources, because like I said, she did used to use meditation as a tool to help with her anxiety, but she lost all those resources to be able to use them for herself. So that's where she relied on me so much to help turn around her negative thinking. You know, and I use some of the techniques with her to help ground her and help her to move away from her anxieties and her constant worries and her constant need for attention and her constant sort of desire for everything to be perfect. So moving back to your original question, how did mindfulness help me? So I mean, the key aspects of mindfulness, you know, because I'd done a lot of meditation before, but the key aspects of mindfulness that helped me were the being in the present moment. So not allowing yourself to get caught up in what's just happened or why it's happened, and not worrying about or thinking about what's going to happen next and how long this might go on for. You know, potentially that was something that was always there in the back of my mind. How long is this going to go on for? And so the mindfulness really helped me to just keep bringing me back to the present moment, to be there for her, but also to bring a lot of compassion and kindness and understanding into, you know, what she was going through, but also for my own feelings. So, you know, during that experience, I experienced a lot, even though, you know, I love my mum dearly, she had triggered me quite a lot before she had her stroke, you know, as parents often can, and children can, and family members. You know, it is quite normal, I think, but she triggered me a lot. And so, you know, having had her stroke, that triggering sort of increased really, because, you know, she didn't give me any space. I had no space for myself really. And so I had to be kind to myself. You know, the mindfulness really helped me to be kind about the emotions I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Because I could have felt really guilty for feeling angry and feeling resentful and feeling frustrated with her, which I did a lot of the time, even though, you know, we did share some giggles and we shared a deep love for each other. You know, there were all those residual emotions that were coming up on a day-to-day basis that I was, the mindfulness just helped me, and it was a real tool, and it helped me to be resilient through this experience. And you know, when I had the capacity and was able, and she was able to accept it, it was a really good tool for her too, and it did help her.
Yeah, no, it sounds like, I mean, that's quite a bonding exercise with a parent, isn't it, when something like that happens, and can have, you know, the outcomes can be uncomfortable and it can be extremely positive. And for you, obviously, you found something that meant that was a lot of positive to come out of it. What do you think? So basically, it seems that stress is one of the biggest factors in how a stroke comes about. Is there things that we should be aware of, or that we need to do in order to sort of do our best to prevent that from happening? Is there any sort of tips?
So I think stress added to her, the cause of her stroke. Stroke awareness and stroke organisations will highlight the things to look out for and to reduce are drinking too much, smoking, an unhealthy diet, and exercise. So those are sort of the key things, along with atrial fibrillation, which gives you a five times higher risk of having a stroke. But that was the one thing that Mum had. The other thing, she didn't, you know, she hadn't drunk for years, she didn't smoke, she exercised every day, she ate really well, you know, she made it her, you know, a life pastime to eat healthily. But stress can lead to raised blood pressure. So that is another cause as well, and being overweight. So raised blood pressure was something that she, along with the atrial fibrillation, she experienced. And so, you know, stress can have an adverse effect on us, and it may not be something that leads to a stroke, but it can affect our health and well-being in many ways. You know, when we're in a stress state, our body is being flooded with adrenaline, and so, you know, when I refer to stress, it's not necessarily something really dramatic going on. It could just be that your mind is constantly thinking about something. You know, you're ruminating, that you're constantly planning, you know, what you're going to do next, or you're really confused and, you know, it's on your mind all the time. When that's occurring, your body is releasing adrenaline, and that adrenaline is flooding through the body, and it's just not good for us. You know, it affects our cells, and it stops our cells from healing. And I mean, our cells are regenerating all the time, and if they can't heal, then disease occurs in whatever, you know, capacity it might be in that person.
We hold the stress within our body, and sometimes that can come out as a result of back pain or other triggers within the body. Can't it come out as a physical pain when really it's an emotional stress? So yeah, it's quite powerful, isn't it, really, what the impact it can have on the body. So just tell me a little bit more. It's stroke.org.uk that, or
yeah, so the Stroke Association, stroke.org.uk. They were incredibly helpful in that first sort of month. well, let's say the first week that mum went into the stroke unit is just a blur. It was complete carnage and chaos because, you know, none of us knew what was going on. I had never had any experience of a stroke before, so and it was a really sort of very difficult time. But suddenly somebody about a week later just placed this pack in my hand that was an information pack from the Stroke Association, and I read through it and it was just like, oh, you know, so this is really common. Lots of people go through it, and just explained what had happened and why it might have happened. And you know, it was hard to get any of that from the doctors because they're always so busy and such a rush, and the stroke unit in Salisbury was just so busy, it was chaotic, that, you know, no one else would have been able to tell us that, but being able to read this information was really, really helpful, and so, you know, it's all online, it's all now. I don't know whether they give the packs out still, because this was 2011, so 9 years ago now. But they've got an enormous amount of information online that, you know, helps you as a stroke survivor, as a carer of stroke survivors, anybody that might be working with, coming in contact with, and you know, there's a support line, and then there's lots of information to read, and they also put on in different areas, you know, there are stroke groups in different parts of the country, so you know, if you're able, you know, you can go to their events and things that they organise. So this month, being Stroke Awareness Month, they call it Make May Purple. Hence the purple clothes.
You're looking very
necklace. I thought I'd dress up. I nearly went as far as dye my hair purple, but I thought step too far.
You might go look like one of the minions when they do that purple. Yeah, they get purple juice or something, and they have on one of the films, don't they? And they go all purple.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought I won't go that far, but obviously due to the coronavirus, you know, a lot of the attention has been taken away from, and people haven't been able to do their usual fundraising campaigns, so I didn't want it to go by unnoticed, because, you know, it had helped me so much. I think, you know, if people have something that they can find that is an extra support along with their family members, that's great. And also, you know, for people that haven't had strokes, it's really good to know what to look out for and how to know if someone's having a stroke or has had a stroke. So, you know, there's
it can be quite subtle, can't it? 'Cause I know my step grandma had one, and she was on the bus, and she was trying to speak and she couldn't, and they didn't know, you know, I think there must have been someone on the bus that knew what was going on. But like, it's so important, because people can appear kind of drunk or not quite with it, can't they? And they can be, you know, assumed
so the not so obvious symptoms are slurred speech, dizziness, falling for no reason, a severe headache out of nowhere, or kind of numbness and weakness down one side. You know, if the usual ones, so they use the test FAST, so F for does something look different in the person's face, so often one side of the face will drop. Arms, so A, can the person raise their arms and hold them up there? And then S is for speech, so is their speech slurred, or are they unable to sort of form sentences properly? And then T is time to call 999. And so it's really handy to know that if people don't know that, just because it's so important to get somebody treatment as soon as possible, because, you know, when they have a stroke, if it's a clot, with a mini stroke, a TIA, that's usually quite quick, so people, you know, don't necessarily experience and get all the stroke after effects. But with a stroke, the clot gets stuck, and the longer it's stuck, the more time oxygen is not getting to the brain, and the more brain injury there is. So unfortunately, in Mum's situation, Dad was 82. He'd never really experienced stroke probably before, or awareness of it. So when my mum had her stroke, she kind of fell out of bed. She got out of bed and then obviously fell, and he went in and sort of just put her back to bed, thinking that she'd just, you know, hit her head on her bedside table, but she was fine, sort of thing. Put her back to bed. So she came downstairs later and almost fell down the stairs, and she was sitting on a chair at the table. She kept falling sideways, and eventually he thought, maybe I better ring the doctor. So he rang the doctor first, had to wait for a call back. So I mean, you know, Mum it was far too late. By the time she was seen by the paramedics, it had been 3 hours, you know, and after 3 hours it's too late to give clot busting drugs. But if you catch it before that, you know, it can, the overall sort of effects can be far less severe.
Yes, yeah. No, my dad had a stroke many years ago, and yeah, he had a slight limp for a while, but he obviously got it caught a lot quicker and recovered. He was 52, so he was quite young as well at the time.
Yes.
So
yes, and I think age can help with that. You know, if you are younger, you have and you have caught it early, you have the capacity to really make it quite a good recovery. Whereas, you know, sadly with Mum, she was caught too late. She was a much older person. She didn't have great mental attitude anyway, and so, you know, her experience of stroke was long and drawn out and not easy. So catch it early.
Yes, catch it early.
You know, and try to maintain as healthy a lifestyle as possible, and you know, address stress levels, and you know, that's why I'm offering.
I was about to say, what are you doing to support, like apart from you've raised a load of money as well, which is amazing, but like with you doing what you do for your business, you're in a position to offer support. So yeah, share a little bit about that.
Yes, so what I decided when I started the fundraiser was obviously it's nice to do a challenge, but in this lockdown situation, and I'm not a great runner, to be quite honest, and then I thought, well, maybe I could bake something for, you know, people in the village on a daily basis, but then realised that with coronavirus around, perhaps it wasn't the best idea to be like handing out food that I'd made.
No.
So then I realised, and it all kind of clicked into place, that actually, you know, my passion, my aim for people out there, if they're struggling or suffering from any kind of anxiety, worry, stress, you know, problems that are ongoing and occurring that that they're not comfortable with, you know, that are making them feel unhappy, then why not just give them a free session? So I'm doing a free session a day. I have been through May, so there's a little bit of May left. So if anybody would like to experience the techniques that I've learned, that have worked for me, that have worked for many people, I have lots of testimonials, then, you know, do contact me and come along for a session. And, you know, it may be right for you and it may not, but, you know, I can certainly give you a number of different techniques and skills that are really good for, you know, day-to-day managing day-to-day resilience, managing your mental health.
And so these sessions can be done online as well, so they're suitable for
Absolutely,
anybody.
yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah, hashtag that online only at the moment.
Yes, it's a little bit full up with the online stuff, but no, it's, I mean, how amazing to be able to reach more people though, with
Yeah,
something like this.
and
So
all around the country as well. It
yeah,
doesn't have to
yeah,
be, you in the past, people generally came to me if they were local. Whereas now, people can, well, anyone in the country,
yeah,
have a
in the
session
world,
online.
global.
Um, the, obviously being online, just to sort of caveat that it is safe and it is confidential.
Potential.
And the techniques that I teach and that I use with people can be done online without having to be in the same room. And because there's no need for, there's no touch involved, I'm able to do it with people quite safely online.
Brilliant. So if they wanted to find out where you are and come and have a look at your website, or and get in touch with you, what's the web address that they can go to? I'll make sure it's in the notes as well, but
Yes, so it's yeswellbeing.co.uk,
okay.
and that's yes hyphen wellbeing.
Yeah.
So my business is Yes Wellbeing, so if you tap that in, it should come up. And so I've got a Facebook page, Yes Wellbeing, and Instagram, Yes Wellbeing as well, and
Lovely.
LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn under my name, so Nicky Minter.
Excellent. Cool. And obviously any links that we've mentioned in the interview, like strokeorg.uk, I'll
Yeah.
make sure they're in the post or words that are around this video, or so that people can click on them and go and take a look and have a read and make themselves more aware about stroke awareness. And
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Nicky, for sharing your story. It's so important to let people have an insight into your experience, and it just really gives them more armor and clues as to how they can prevent stroke and also cope with either having or dealing and caring for someone with stroke that's had a stroke as well. So so important. Thank you so much, and it's been really great talking to you. And
Lovely. Thank you, Sam.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Okay, take care. Like I say, if anybody's interested in in finding out more, all the links with regards to stroke awareness, and also how you can find Nicky, will be in the post. Okay, take care everyone.
Okay, thank you. Bye.